G'day everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today I'll be going through my round 14 AFL tips and predictions and of course reviewing round 13. But before we do get into all of that, last week I asked you guys to help me out and reach 600 likes on my last tipping video and we absolutely smashed that out of the ballpark. We ended up hitting over 800. So this week, let's try and one up that and let's go 850. I know we can do it. It helps out a ton on the channel if you guys can like it out. So our new like goal, 850 likes. So I'll give you 3 seconds, like the video right now before we do anything else. And with all that out and done with, let's get straight into the tips. So we'll get straight into round 13 and compared to round 12, what an improvement. Although I'm still at the bottom 55. I got 5 out of 6, only 1 tip incorrect. Yet I still did worse than most people, which I don't really, well actually I do get. Because a lot of the tips were quite easy. I got Richmond correct over the Port. My margin was 27 and that was probably the difference in the end, considering that people probably just had a closer margin at the end of the day. I tipped Carlton successfully over Essendon, pretty easy there. Freo over Hawthorn. Jeez, if I would have just used my head and gone the lines, I would have got a perfect score of 6 out of 6. But I just had too much faith in my side, and unfortunately that let me down. Then I went GWS over North, and this is a tip that I was pretty happy with. I didn't watch any of this game because I was out with my cousins, but Collingwood got the job done over Melbourne. Like, what is up with Melbourne now? Like, seriously. And now, if you have a look at the ladder, for the first time in God knows how long, the D's are no longer top. So huge stuff going on in the season so far. We're heading to round 14 now, but actually before we do get into that, I forgot my big calls. And just like last week, I got not a single one correct. 0 out of 2 yet again. What's with me getting zeros for the bye rounds? I still have yet to get a big call correct for the bye rounds. So we'll go over the top 3 punishments, and we've got some very interesting ones for this week, let me tell you that. What were the most likes, as literally it happened every single time last year? Geordie Pluto with the most likes, and his punishment was let Shannon Humphries decide what I have for dinner for an entire week. And get this, the second most liked punishment was also from Shannon Humphries as well. And just as it is every week for Shannon, his punishment was for me to do the segments for next week's tipping video. And then the one with the third most likes was from Harry Van der Plyte, and that was to order food from Ryder Henchy at the food bar, even though you don't order from him, he's the one who actually cooks the food. And I've got to wear a disguise so he doesn't realise it's me. Alright, so let's get right into the wheel. We've got the 3 punishments listed. Shannon dinner with 3, Shannon segments with 2, Ryder Henchy food disguise with 1. Let's see where it I mean, I don't want to do any of these, that's why it's called a punishment. And it is, oh shit, it's the Shannon segments! For the first time in Carlton 22 tipping video history, Shannon is finally going to get on the channel and he is going to be doing his tips for round 15 for next week. So if you guys want another reason to watch my tipping videos, well, you got one next week because you're going to see Shannon do his tips. Alright, but now that we've got all that out of the way, we'll get into the round 14 tips. And of course, if you're new to the channel, I do this every week. I get you guys to comment down a punishment for me if I don't get my big calls correct, which I'll be going through every tipping video such as this one as well. Alright, let's head into the first game of round 14. What a game. This is Richmond v Carlton at the MCG. It doesn't really get any better than that, and this is the first double-up game of 2022, and well, it's arguably going to be game of the round. Richmond, they need to get this win to keep their top 8 hopes alive, or just to contend for the top 8, whilst the Blues, their aspirations for the top 4 get a lot better if they win this game. They'll move to 10-3, I'm pretty sure, if they get this win. The Tigers last week, they got an important win against Port Adelaide in a game that was a weird one. I didn't watch a lot of it, but I just feel like Richmond had control of a lot of the game, but then Port got back into it and almost deserved to win. And a few umpiring decisions in that last quarter, you know, it didn't really favour Port. But again, Richmond, they could have sewn the game earlier on. Shai Bolton kicking 5 behinds, arguably kicked his way out of the All-Australian side. So, yeah, weird game, but an important game for Richmond just to continue banking these wins. And if they get this win, they overtake the Pies on the ladder to take that 8th spot. Now, of course, last week, we also saw the Blues walk away with another easy 4 points. But it was against a dismal Bombers outfit, to be fair. I mean, they were just completely horrible. And in that last quarter, the Blues unfortunately played to the Bombers' terms. And it was one of the most boring quarters of footy I think I've ever had to witness. Now, this is going to be on Thursday night. So, look, I'm a bit concerned that it's going to be a poorer crowd than what we'd normally expect for a game between Richmond and Carlton. I mean, we saw only 21,000 show up against Port Adelaide v Richmond. A Richmond home game for 21k, that's just not good enough. So, hopefully we get a good crowd of footy in this game. I'll probably stream it. And I'll probably lean on the Blues in this one. I think Carlton have just been slightly more convincing this year. They've just proven a little bit more. But it's still going to be a very, very close game of footy, I would expect. We'll go the Blues by 8 points. And my big call, bit of a random one at quarter time. Any side leads by over 20 points. Alright, next game of the round, we've got St Kilda taking on Essendon for the second annual Spuds game. And I just want to point out, why are the Bombers getting so many Friday night games? They were doing the rolling fixture and they voluntarily went away to give the Bombers some Friday night games when they were already playing crap. I didn't realise how abysmal the Bombers really were though, until I watched them play against the Blues last week, and they were completely hopeless, particularly for their 150th anniversary game. You'd think they'd be all up for the occasion, put up a fight, but I mean, after quarter time, they just really disappointed. In that last quarter, if I was a Bombers fan, I wouldn't know what's next for the Bombers, literally. Like, it's really that bad at the moment. But still, like, you head into every game respecting the opposition. You can't take the opposition lightly, otherwise you'll get pantsed. And we sort of did that last year against the Bombers. We were expecting, or the Saints were expecting, a pretty comfortable win, considering they weren't even expected to do that well early on last year. And the Bombers walked away with a 75-point victory. So I'm not saying that's going to happen again this week. I'm not saying they're going to win against this week. But we can't necessarily take the Bombers lightly, even though they have been arguably the most disappointing side so far in 2022. I was a little bit disappointed last week as well with the Saints. I mean, look, we were in the contest definitely against the Lions. We were up at halftime by 12 points, but injuries cost us. We only had 2 rotations, but still, even if you put that aside, the Lions were simply the better side and probably should have even won the game by more. 21 points, probably looked a little bit better on our terms, considering that they had a lot of chances and just weren't able to put us away late. So yeah, let's hope we could bounce back the Saints. If you guys already don't know, I'm a Saints fan, that's why I'm calling them we. I'll go the Saints in a fairly comfortable game by 35 points. I don't think it'll be an absolute smashing, but we should get a pretty comfortable win. And my big call will be that the Saints score 100 by 3/4 time. The next game will be the first game on the Saturday, and this is between Port Adelaide and Sydney at the Adelaide Oval. Port's season currently is hanging on by a thread. If they lose here, I'd argue it's officially over. They're just falling well behind all the other sides that are contending for the 8. And it's against the City outfit, who are currently on a high, especially over that D's win a couple weeks ago. If they can beat the D's at the MCG, albeit they're not playing their best footy right now, then they should have the confidence to walk into any game and expect to get a win, or at least challenge for a win. I feel like the 2-week break also will help rejuvenate them, get a couple of injured players back on the field running. However, if you look at the form guide, I didn't realise this, but Port well and truly have the wood over the Swans. You look at the head-to-head, last 5 matches, they've all been Port Adelaide wins. We all know what happened last year with Scott Lightsett kicking the match winner. So even though the Swans probably should win this game, considering that they're probably favourites and they're the better side out of the 2, I reckon the home ground advantage is enough of a factor to go Port in a close one here. I don't know. I just feel like the power, they can get this done, and they can just stay alive in season 2022. Like, if they win this game, they're still in with a little bit of a chance. So yeah, I'll go Port Adelaide in a close game here. I'll go Port by 13 points. My big call that Port Adelaide kick the final 3 goals of the match. And the next game of the round, we've got West Coast v Geelong at Optus Stadium. And West Coast season from hell, well, it continues, and they're up against a red-hot Geelong outfit who are humming away at the moment. They're set to probably finish in the top 4. They've got a really healthy percentage. They've got an insanely favourable fixture for the next 10 games. Like, yeah, if they don't make a top 4 spot, it's on them, because they honestly should make it with the fixture that they have at the moment. And Eagles, they're playing that bad that they aren't guaranteed not to lose by 100 points every week. Like, especially at home even. Like, they've already lost 2 games by 100 points, and Geelong are a side that are capable of demolishing teams. Yeah, obviously Geelong, they'll win this one very easily, I would expect. It could get quite ugly, honestly. Like, the huge game is looming, as I said earlier, for Hawkins and Cameron. And for West Coast, well, yeah, I don't know. If they can lose by less than 10 goals, I would almost take that as a win for where the Eagles are at currently in the season. I'm going to go Geelong in a very, very comfortable victory. I'm going to go Geelong to win this game by 86 points. My big call will involve Cameron and Hawkins. They're going to combine for 10 or more goals in this game. Last game for Saturday, we've got another classic here. GWS v the Western Bulldogs. Another huge matchup between huge rival sides. Last week we saw GWS pick up a very easy, comfortable win over North Melbourne. Just another lackluster performance from North Melbourne. The Giants didn't really need to do much to get the win. Got to give a bit of a shout out to Harry Himmelberg. 37 disposals, playing a key defensive role. And considering that the Roos only had like 35, 36 inside 50s, like, that is a very solid achievement. The Dogs' recent form hasn't been great. They did pick up 3 wins in a row until that loss against the Cats. But that was a very disappointing loss against the Cats, because essentially the game was over at quarter time. And Dylan Brown's calling me. Can you piss off, mate? And you look at them on the ladder, they're currently on 24 points with a good percentage, but a win here is just extremely important. If they don't win this game, I'd almost say their top 8 aspirations are out of the window. Like, it's going to be extremely tough for the Dogs to get back into contention if they don't win this game. So, huge stakes on the line for both sides, but particularly the Dogs because they are still in the hunt for the top 8. I would argue, though, the Giants are probably in better form at the moment, and they sort of started to hit their stride under Mark McVeigh. I know they've only been beating the poorer sides, but they just look better overall. And I just feel like if this was early GWS, in the early stage of the season, they probably almost lose against North Melbourne. So yeah, tough game of footy here, but I reckon the home ground advantage edges the Giants over the line just in a thriller. I predict this to be the game of the round. I'm going to go the Giants to win it by 5 points. Big call. There'll be 10 or more lead changes throughout this game. And the final game of the round, we've got a standalone Sunday clash between Gold Coast and Adelaide. You wouldn't expect this to be the Channel 7 game, even though it is the only game on the Sunday. So it could be the Channel 7 game, but you know, you're not going to expect it between Gold Coast and Adelaide. Of course, both teams are coming off the bye, and they're both coming off wins as well, albeit they did versus North Melbourne and West Coast respectively. However, the Suns, their win was definitely more convincing. Back-to-back 60-plus point wins now for Gold Coast. They are humming along very nicely. I know that they're not playing against the best of teams, but as I've mentioned a few times already, the Suns have a really, really nice fixture. And if they win all these games against bottom 10 teams, or really win all the games they're expected to win, they are well in the hunt for finals, and they probably will make the finals. Adelaide, you know, their win against Eagles was alright. They played really well in the first quarter, but then dropped off quite significantly. And I feel like West Coast almost won that game if you don't count the scores of the first quarter. So a little bit disappointing there for Adelaide. I still think they're an okay and quite competitive side, but for whatever reason, the Suns have made Metricon a fortress this season. They are tough to beat up at Metricon, and currently, of course, they're in great form, as I touched up on earlier. I think Adelaide will challenge, but Gold Coast will ultimately prove to be just too good in this game, and they should record a pretty comfortable win by 36 points with my big call, Adelaide score 8 or less goals. So those were my round 14 tips, and this will be the final of the 3 bye rounds. So my tips were Carlton, St Kilda, Port Adelaide, Geelong, GWS, and Gold Coast. Half the games this round are 50-50 clashes, so we're set for a really, really good round of footy, that is for sure. And before we do wrap this up, of course, we're going to head through my tipping competition to see where everyone is at the moment. Even though I did drop a few spots in the overall competition for ESPN, I actually went up a few spots in my own competition. I went up to 545th, and it was a go to the weekly leaders, and holy crap, look at all of these people that got a perfect score. I can't name them all, but we'll go over the top few, and then we'll go over a few notable winners. So, Proud Outhouse with a perfect round 13 score of 6 tips and 0 margin as well. Lucas Jetski, Betcha, Josh Morgan, and a few people that I'll give a shout out to, such as GoTome AFL. Who else we got? Sportsstart that tipped a perfect 6. Nick Cash King, Mr. Team Coach. Bloody Mitch Ryan, Sammy GFC. I mean, everyone's getting a 9 and on. Nugget YT. Look at all these people that all tipped a perfect score of 6. I'd argue that has to be a record. How is it that exactly 100 people all tipped a perfect score? It was an easy week of footy, but honestly, like if I just didn't go for the Saints, I would have been included as well with all the tipsters who tipped a perfect score. And also quickly, we'll go through the overall ladder. And Nick Dacos official now overtakes Banger Harvey as the leader. We've got Lucas Jetski, who also has made a huge climb into second place. Of course, Banger Harvey's still there. Rowan Marshall's son, Docker's Army, Lion Boldo, Proud House. And then we got, the rest of the top 10. So honestly, look at this. We won't know who the winner will be for the tipping comp until probably the last round. So if you guys are still yet to join it, go join it now. I did say I was going to close the comp very soon, and I'll still stand by that. So you got not a lot of time left before this will close. So go and get in it quickly. And Sammy GFC, I just had a quick look. He's skyrocketed 24th spot. So I don't know, he doesn't upload his tips, but he probably should because he's doing better than everyone else. Alrighty guys, well those were my round 14 tips for the AFL. If you guys did enjoy the video, chuck a like. We set a like goal of 850, so let's get there. Expect a whole heap of content to come out this week. I've got a video planned with the Bev show. I've got an AFL team coach box break. The Essendon v Kilda vlog. It's just going to be a week full of content for the channel and for the next few weeks as well. So, yeah, if you guys are yet to subscribe to the channel, go subscribe, like the video as I said earlier, and we'll see you soon in my next video. Cheers.